Hello again. This is James Swanwick. Welcome to Date Top 10 Men with James. Great to have you here. And today we're talking about interracial dating, the pros and cons. We're talking about, should white men date black women? Should white women date black men? Should an Australian date a Colombian? Should a Colombian date an Australian? I tell you, I've had a bad history with Colombian women and Latinas, I got to tell you. To help us figure this out, the pros and cons of interracial dating, I've brought in a great friend of mine. She's the author of a book called A Black Girl's Guide to Dating White Men. Her name is Nikki McElroy. Nikki, how are you? Great to have you here.
Great. I'm so excited to be here and be part of this conversation.
And it's great. It's great to have you here, Nikki. So before we get into these pros and cons and we really kind of like detail them, there's some kind of stigma out there in society, right? Especially in America, when you see a black man dating a white woman or a white man dating a black man. Why is that still in 2014?
Because people aren't used to seeing it as much. There's a little more stigma with a black woman dating white men out here in America because people don't see it as much. The other way around, we're seeing it, we see it on TV more often. We see it, with our entertainers, our ball players. So people are becoming more accepting of that. But with black women, white men, they're still like, oh, wow, look at them. Did you see that? It's like some mix at the zoo,
Yeah, it's crazy. And so how successful, statistically speaking, is an interracial relationship or a marriage compared to a relationship of the same race?
I don't know the statistics on that in front of me. I don't have those in front of me, but in my book, I do have those all the way up to the 2000 census. But I do know the numbers are growing in the interracial world. Like since the 1960s, it's almost doubled. Each 10 years, it keeps getting larger and larger. So people are intermixing a lot more than in the past.
And so why are they dating like this more than what they were in the past?
Well, I think internet, the availability of things, I think that has a lot to do with it. TV is such a big thing in entertainment. So a lot more black people are becoming, sex symbols and this, so people are getting a new idea of beauty.
Mm-hmm.
And then they start, trying out, and then they're like, oh my gosh, I really do love these people, and things, and people are just intermingling. But I definitely think that internet, social networks, allows people to become a lot closer.
Okay. Having said that, there are still problems, aren't there? There are still some cons from dating outside of your race. If we have a white woman listening to the show or watching this video right now, maybe she's never really thought about dating a black man before. And obviously there are problems that come with that, right? So what would you say to the white woman or the black woman, considering the white man,
Some of the bad
before
things.
before they set upon this journey of deciding whether they are going to do this? If this is a big decision for them to make, maybe it's not a big decision at all, but if it is a big decision, what would you say to them based on everything that you've learned about this?
Well, depending on where they live, of course, in America, LA is going to be quite different than Louisiana. They have to really think about their parents and their relationship with the family, if their family has a problem with it. I was born in Louisville, Kentucky. My family happens to be very mixed up. We were the first blacks to move in the suburbs, things are just different back there, though. And I know I dated a Puerto Rican guy for a while. My grandma swore he was white. I did. She didn't get, like, there's black and white. There's no in between.
Yeah.
There's black, white, Mexican, and Chinese for a lot of people. And there's no other culture. There's nothing else.
Yeah.
So you have to really think about what your family and your relationship with them, and if they really have a problem with stuff like that. And that could be a con. And I mean, that could be a pro too. If your family's open like mine, that could be a pro because it's, more the merrier.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, well, let's go through it. Let's do 3 pros and 3 cons to interracial dating. So let's do the pros first. Like, what are the good things?
Let's stick to the good.
Well, the only problem with that is that we are going to get to the bad. So let's stick with the pros first. Let's lead with the good. So what's the first pro? What's the first good thing that can come out of interracial dating?
The first good thing is you get to open up your sea of men. You get more options. forget finding a certain race of man. Let's look for a good man. Because I
Yeah.
mean, finding good man is as hard as, nailing jello to a tree, someone said. It's difficult. So we just need to open up our options. And if you're attracted, go for it. Like, not everyone's attracted to everybody. And let's get that clear. Some people aren't attracted to different races, and that's fine. Everyone has their own preference. But at the same note, you also want to, if you are attracted, go for it. Don't be scared.
Yeah, so that's the main thing. Don't be scared. But we'll
Mm-hmm.
get to the cons in a minute. But do you find a lot of the women who you work with and who you've spoken to, do you find that fear of something is the
Fear of
biggest?
the unknown. Yeah, there people are scared. Um, I think that, yeah, fear is a big part of it.
Okay. All right. So the pro is it opens up a sea of men. Remember, don't look for a certain race of man, as Nikki says. Look for a good man.
Correct.
All right. I like that. Okay. So that's one good pro. What's another pro?
You could possibly learn about a different culture if you didn't grow up in
Yes.
your high school and you guys, were raised doing the same things. But chances are you guys have some different background. In my book, I have pumpkin versus sweet potato. So at Thanksgiving here in America, pumpkin pie is that pie that, everyone knows to go to. In the Black community, most of us really do sweet potato pie instead. So you have to get to know the different cultures, get new loves for different tastes. Our Thanksgivings look quite different a lot of the times. For instance, there's pumpkin versus sweet potato. There's greens versus green bean casserole. So there's these staple things in food, and it's just those small things. There's not a lot, I don't think, that's I've ever run across that has been like deal breakers in a relationship. But you get to open up and learn a lot of new things.
Yeah, I like that. So you get to learn about a different culture. I mean, I tell you, I went down to South America in fact, I've spent a lot of time in South America, in Argentina and in Colombia especially. And I learned a lot of amazing things from dating the local women down there in terms of cooking and when they eat and when they go out. For example, in Buenos Aires in Argentina, nobody goes out to dinner to dine until like after 10 p.m. Like they
I'd be
eat.
asleep. I don't think I could work there. Or I don't think I would
I
function.
couldn't handle it either. That's why a few of my relationships ended, because I'm like, it's 7:30. I want to eat. And they're like, no, we got to go out at 10:30. I'm like, oh my God, I got to sit here and just kill time for 3 hours. It killed me. But obviously you can learn about a different culture. I'm just, whining about the dietary habits or the eating habits or how late they're eating. But of course, there are other wonderful things that you can learn about the culture, travel, and the way that there's a huge importance on family. Not to say that in other cultures there isn't a big importance on family, but especially in Argentina and in Colombia, the family unit is so important. It's all encompassing. And so people spend Sundays with their family. Whereas in my culture in Australia, we hang out, but it doesn't matter if you don't see them. I'll see you when I see you, whatever.
Well, that's just like here in America. And on the bright side, with interracial dating, that kind of helps. I mean, there's no real tradition that we have here to where we're obligated to date a certain type of person. It's a little bit easier to interracial date here in America, I feel, long as your family isn't so
Yeah, I like. All right, so that's good. There's two good pros there. It opens up a sea of men. You get to learn about a different culture. What's another pro? What's one more pro?
For the white women, you might get a kid that's good at sports.
So that's really ramming home the stereotype there, Nikki,
Yeah,
isn't it?
let's take it home. He might be able to jump. No, you get beautiful children. Not to say the same race children aren't beautiful, but I like a browning of America. That's what they call it. I like things where it's not so black and white. It's, everyone's just happy and just living interculturally, like, I guess you could say.
So when you say you get beautiful children, I tell you who I immediately thought of. I immediately thought of Halle Berry. Is she half white, half black?
Correct.
Yeah. And so, to some people, she epitomizes like absolute beauty.
Oh yeah, that woman is gorgeous.
She is gorgeous, yes. But is she gorgeous? Do we as a society decide that she is gorgeous because she's half black, half white? Or do we decide that she's gorgeous just because of her facial structure? Or
It's her facial structure too. And I mean, a lot of people do love her skin tone, and she got some certain features. It's her facial structure for what I think that's the number one. But at Hallie's age, I believe she was like one of the first one, not she's one of the first mixed people ever,
mm-hmm.
but she was one of the first, black women to, step into the movie scene, which we still call her black, for one of the first black women to step into the movie scene and kind of open up the doors for, we were talking about this earlier, for darker skinned Americans and stuff. In our country, there's been a lot of stuff going on, a lot of bad stuff, and it's taking some time to slowly open the door for people to see the light. Like we've been bombarded. I know, like you probably have men that have their certain type, and a lot of men's type are those busty blondes. Like they just love them, but because it's all over TV, and then that's what's shown. And lucky that things are changing, and you can start seeing a lot of new things and new beauty.
I love how you claim Halle Berry as your own. You're like, yeah, she's black. She's black. She's definitely black. Even though she's probably 50-50 white, black, you still claim her as black, right?
Yeah.
Why? Why is that happening?
We just do, because she is black. If she walked out in the street, you wouldn't say that's a white girl. You would see her brown skin and say, oh, she's black.
Now, to the listener or the viewer right now, you're going to have to apologize if I put my foot in it, because I'm from Australia. I'm a little bit clueless when it comes to political correctness over here in the US, even though I've lived here for many years. So if I say something that you may find insulting, I apologize. I'm not trying to be that way. And Nikki, you can pull me up if I
I will. I will.
Okay. I'm just going to blame it on my Australian upbringing, where I'm clueless to do with this. Okay. So cons, let's move into cons now. So what are the cons if the woman listening or watching right now starts dating out of her race?
Well, we talked about it a little bit earlier. Maybe family backlash. That's one thing. I haven't run into that yet. But it does exist. My uncle married a white woman years ago, back in the 80s, and she's from Canada. Her family disowned her.
Is that right?
Yeah. So she has no contact with her family. Like when she chose my uncle, and she had to step away from her family.
Wow.
And he's a great guy. He's a preacher, he's a church Christian guy. And because of his color, they didn't accept him. But he also took in her 2 children and became the father to her 2 children, and was, just a wonderful father all around. So that said, you might run into that. And unfortunately, you have to make a choice. Some people will choose to leave their family for this, love. And some people won't. It's hard. It depends on how close you are to your family.
And it's real, isn't it? Like the family backlash, the societal backlash.
Friends.
I mean, it's real. I mean, and maybe even sometimes the family won't actually come out and say something. Maybe they won't voice their disapproval, but you can just sense it. Does that happen? Do you have clients?
I believe they voice their disapproval to the person that they're, that they know, but behind the other person's back.
Yes.
And sometimes you get stares. Me personally, I've gotten stares from black men when I'm walking down the street with a white man. Bad stares, like, oh, what are you doing? But at the same note, the same guy's holding hands with a white girl. So I still get it, but I'm getting it from guys that are doing the same thing.
And how do you feel? Like, how do you feel when you see that?
Me, I don't care, because I think the person's an idiot. And I think that they're either racist and they have some other situation going on.
Uh-huh.
And I'm over that. Some people, it may bother them. Like, oh, they're looking at me. It depends on how secure you are in yourself and in your relationships.
Did you always not care?
I always didn't care, I guess. I mean, I've always dated interracially since I can remember, junior high, like, well, whenever you have your first crushes, whatever that is, through high school. And it has never really been an issue. Although I just remembered one incident. I was going to my junior prom with a friend, and we did have one guy that we knew that was racist at our school. We weren't friends, but we were always cordial because we hung around the same clique.
Mm-hmm.
And he would, out here, a lot of white guys will say something like this saying, "Oh, I only don't like black men."
Huh.
That saying happens a lot, which I get in arguments like, if I had a child, he would be a black man. If I had my dad was a black man, if I had a brother, he'd be a black man. So you saying that is totally disrespectful to me and to the whole community, and that means you're racist.
Right.
And so anyways, this guy who I had this conversation with, I was going to one of the dances with his best friend, and I remember he was around the I was going on the date with, going off on him, going, "What are you talking about? I can't believe you're like this. I can't even know if we could be friends anymore." So what he was telling him is, "Are you sure you want to go with Nikki? Because remember, you're going to have pictures that are going to last forever.
Wow.
And your family is going to, as you get older, you're always going to have pictures that you want with the black girl."
Wow.
But we went anyways, had a great time.
There you go.
Like, so it's like, so those people do exist. And it's funny because he befriended the same guy that didn't want the guy going on the date with me, befriended me on Facebook. And it's like, "I'm so happy of everything you're doing." So I don't know where he's at in his life right now. But yeah, it's just.
So yeah, societal disapproval, family backlash, it does happen. It is very real. And so to the woman listening or watching right now, you have to really decide, are you willing to put up with that kind of backlash if it comes? We're not saying that it's definitely going to come. Maybe nobody cares. Maybe they just raise a concern and then it's gone forever. But if you fear that, or that does happen, you need to make it. I guess you just have to make a decision. Are you willing to put up with that? And if so, great, just push ahead. And if you're not willing to put up with it, then maybe stick within your own race.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, so societal disapproval.
It gives you a chance. It gives you a chance to reevaluate your friendships and reevaluate what your family values are too.
Yeah,
that really is, and if you want to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what's another con? That's the first con, which is societal disapproval, family backlash.
We're talking about culture clash as well.
Culture clash, yes.
And and just different norms for people and trying to bring them together and making it work.
Yeah, the culture clash is fascinating, isn't it? Because what can turn you on about someone when you first meet them because they're different, because they have a different culture, can actually be something that turns you off
in the long run.
Yeah, in the long run. I know that from experience. I when I was down in Argentina and Colombia, especially in Colombia, but I dated some Colombian women. I actually fell in love with a Colombian woman, and I've spoken about that on my website, Date Top 10 Men with James, and I've spoken it on this podcast, on the podcast as well. But generally speaking, besides the one Colombian woman who I fell for, Colombian women, I couldn't handle them. I mean, I loved them. I loved their look. I loved their brown hair. I love their skin. I love how fun they are. I love how feminine they are. I love all of that. But like little things, like I would invite a Colombian woman out on a date and she would turn up with two of her friends. And then I would have to obviously buy the dinner and buy the drinks for the friends as well. So all of a sudden it's like a date of 4 people and it's me supporting her and supporting her friends. And I was like, damn, this is really annoying. Other times these Colombian women would turn up an hour, 2 hours late for a date. I respect.
Was that just her? How many Colombian women did you date? Is that just her? Because we don't want to group the whole Colombian.
No, I'm changing. I'm interspersing here. I'm not. Forget the one that I had the relationship with. I'm talking about in the courting process, getting to know women. I mean, generally right across the board, the Colombian women would turn up an hour late, 2 hours late. The worst I had was one woman who turned up 2.5 hours late. Funnily enough, I'm still friendly with her to this day. We got through that. But she turned up 2.5 hours late. And it's always, oh, qué pena, lo siento, I'm sorry. Oh, how embarrassing, I'm sorry. But it's I value punctuality,
I'm surprised you waited that long. I would have left. I personally leave dates if guys are 15 minutes late. I leave because obviously you don't value my time.
I'll tell you what it was, Nikki. I'll tell you what it was. I was always torn between this idea of I've got my morals, I've got my values, I've got my self-discipline. I know what I believe in versus I'm in their country. And when in Rome, do as the Romans do. It's their culture. I have to respect their culture. So I can't fight it. I just have to accept it. And even though I was sitting there for 2.5 hours going, this is ridiculous, at the same time, I was thinking, wow, I'm getting a lesson in another country's culture now.
There you go. Yeah.
But that it was insane. I mean, it infuriated me and that kind of stuff. It was
That's a deal breaker. I'm like, I got to leave the country.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other thing is that apologies to the country of Colombia. I love Colombia. Like I've been going back and forth there for 4 years, and there's not everyone who knows me knows that I love that country. But there are certain things about their dating regiment and their routines that I just can't handle. It's just not for me. And punctuality and changing plan. Like I can't tell you how many times they wanted to change plans. Oh, I can't do it. Yeah. Look, you book something in, then the next day you would have to confirm with them. And if you didn't confirm with them, they just wouldn't show up. And it was all this kind of like back and forth the whole time, which I just wanted it nice and easy and say, I'm a man of my word. I'll pick you up at this time. I'll meet you here at this time. And there you are. So that was a difficulty for me.
Is that different from LA when it comes to people changing plans a lot?
Yeah, well, I get maybe it's just a James Swanwick personality clash. I don't know, but I mean, definitely in Colombia and in South American countries, they don't really
more relaxed.
They're more relaxed. They don't put a value on time as much as I put my value on time. I'm a business owner. I own business. I need to get stuff done. Whereas there, it's more focused on fun and other things. I get fun from my business. Anyway, that's just an example of a culture clash that you can have. Have you ever had a cultural clash where something like that's been frustrating for you, Nikki?
I'm always putting me on the spot. Let me think. Or from my general area. So it's not too much culture clash because if you're in the same city most of the time, you're not going to run into as much of that. I know we're trying to stay, on the old, we're speaking worldwide cultures here. Mm-hmm. In America, we are a little bit lucky because there's not that many different cultures here. Mm-hmm. Yeah. We're American. It's hot. We all kind of go with the flow. It would nothing like set in stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think I've run into anything like that. Other than just people just being rude. I mean,
yeah. Well, I'm just anti the culture of rudeness. That's
exactly that's just it. I'm not. That's my deal breaker.
Yeah. All right. So there's two cons there: societal and family backlash and disapproval. We've got a cultural clash. What other clashes have we got? What other problems?
I think I think that's it. Just like because in my book I have like meeting the family, things that you can come up to.
Yeah.
We add a lot of seasonings to our stuff. So I have a girlfriend that, because of me, dated her first white guy.
Oh.
So she invited him over for dinner. Uh-huh. What do you want to call her? She's half Latina, half Black.
Okay.
So she has both cultures going on. So not only is it over seasoned, it's super spicy.
Wow. Yeah.
So he came over to eat and she just said she noticed like first the sweat started going around his lip and then he started sweating and she didn't realize that she had added so much spice to the food. And so it's just those little things where she has to remember that maybe, his food isn't as tasteful as her. You see. We have a thing here in America where we say white people food is bland. And we always have to add salt and pepper and a little bit of seasoned salt. but there's little things like that. And those are all easy breezy and fun to talk about. And those are easy.
Yeah. Yep. So what about a socioeconomic clash as well, Nikki? Like if there's a problem sometimes when you're dating outside of your race, or your interracial dating is probably the terminology I should have used. Sometimes there's a clash that comes with economics, right?
Well, I got in this conversation with someone before. I get offended when people assume that if there's a socioeconomic clash problem, that it's because the Black person's poor.
Huh.
Is that what you were thinking? Like, socioeconomic means that the Black person's coming from the hood and going with the white person from the suburbs. And I get offended when people like bring up the socioeconomics when it comes to interracial dating,
Yeah.
because it's not really an issue. If you're talking interracial dating, I mean, it's an issue when you're talking dating, period.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's an issue I know down in those South American countries as well, and it's just reinforced all the time. And that is, when I was down there, I'm Australian, but they all assumed that I was American, and so they all assumed that I was filthy rich and had lots of money, and they all the women, well, I shouldn't say all, but many, if not most of the women play the role of the poor woman because many of them are. It's just
Oh yeah,
a lot of those
yeah,
third world cultures, or I mean, not to suggest that. Sorry, I shouldn't suggest that Colombia's third world, but those South American cultures, obviously, there's a hell of a lot of poverty, and there is no real middle class. It's either like you're earning
up here or you're down here.
yeah, correct. And so those stereotypes are very much fostered, and I wouldn't use the word encouraged, but they're just always perpetual in motion. It's always like there's the very rich guy and then there's the very poor woman, and the woman just accepts that. And so what she does is to make herself look as beautiful as she can. There's a very high importance put on physical beauty in those South American countries, and a very much importance put on the man and his wealth, being a man of resources.
Yeah. I just feel that we have a lot like a good middle class here in America.
Mm-hmm.
We do have the poor, we do have the filthy rich, but we have a healthy middle class area. Even if it's low middle class, could be upper middle class, but we all kind of range in this whole little thing here. And so like I don't see a lot of that, but there are situations where the socioeconomics pop in. For instance, Eve just married Maximilian, the billionaire, and she was from the hoods of Philly. But hey, they're making it work.
Yeah, nice. So let's just review that then. The pros of interracial dating. Number one, it opens up a sea of men. And as Nikki says, don't look for a certain race of man, look for a good man. The second pro is you get to learn from a different culture and get to enjoy all of that kind of stuff. And then Nikki also said that if you're a white woman especially, and you marry a black man and have children, well, he's going to be good at sports because white men can't jump, but apparently black men can. And you'll have beautiful children. So genetically speaking, you'll have beautiful children. Cons, obviously the societal disapproval. You'll get a family backlash. Maybe you've got friends or acquaintances or family members who disapprove. Cultural clash. I use the example of the Colombian women turning up in a party of 3 that was supposed to be a date of just 2, of coming up with 2 girlfriends. And sometimes, those kind of cultural clashes do cause friction. And then, of course, sometimes there's a socioeconomic clash. Sometimes how you view the world in socioeconomic terms and political views and all that can create a lot of controversy in a relationship as well when it comes to interracial dating. So there are 3 pros and 3 cons. Nikki, where can our listener and viewer get more details about you?
You can go to my website. It's www.thecreaminmycoffee.com.
Thecreaminmycoffee.com. I love it.
Or you can find me on, see some of my videos on YouTube at
Sorry, I'm just gonna get you to say that again. Right? You just cut out there for a second. So we've got creaminmycoffee.com, and what was the other one, Nikki?
YouTube is A Black Girl's Guide.
YouTube, A Black Girl's Guide. Yep.
And then there's Facebook, A Black Girl's Guide to Dating.
Okay, I love it. Terrific. If you are a woman watching on YouTube right now, thank you so much for watching. Go ahead and leave a comment below. What did you think of what Nikki said? What did you think of what I said? Is she crazy? Am I crazy? Are you outraged by some of the points of this conversation? What experiences have you had from dating outside of your race? Please write down your experiences in the comment section below. Would really appreciate that. Also, please subscribe to my YouTube channel just by clicking the link so you can get lots of other YouTube videos. And go ahead and send this video, if you are watching it on the video, to a friend who may benefit from this. Maybe you've got, a girlfriend who's dating someone. Maybe it's a white girlfriend who's dating a black guy, or it's a black guy dating a white woman. Send this video to them.
Or maybe they're curious.
Yeah, or maybe they're curious. Post it on your Facebook wall so others can see it. If you're listening to this on the podcast, please do post a comment about Nikki and this topic in the ratings and reviews section of Date Top 10 Men with James. Just go to the iTunes page of Date Top 10 Men with James and write a comment there. I read every comment. And whether you're watching or listening on YouTube or podcast, head over to datetop10menwithjames.com to get lots of free videos. And then finally, make sure you send a tweet out to Nikki and me right now and said, really liked your episode or hated your episode. Give us some abuse or tell us that we did a great job, whatever you want.
And my Twitter is @datingwhitemen, of all things, of course.
All right, there you go. So @datingwhitemen is Nikki's Twitter account. And you can get me at James Swanick. That's JamesSWANWICK. That was pretty long. There was a lot of call to actions there at the end, weren't there, Nikki? Nikki, thank you so much. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you for having me. I just had fun.
Okay, and to the lovely lady watching and listening, I will catch you on the next one.